All right, y'all. What's up? Hello. Welcome to our first ever podcast. We're your higher ed hot seat team. We're basically here to talk about everything that's college and higher education because we really want to, help out our students. So the first thing that we kind of like want to go over is, doing introductions to ourselves. So we'll go around the room. We'll all introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about who we are. My name is Yasmine Lopez. I'm currently a graduating senior at SF State. Um, and I currently live in Ontario, California. I was out in the Bay Area for going while I was going to school, but I came back because of the pandemic. And my major is visual communications, but also known as graphic design, and I have a minor in cinema. So, Britt, do you want to go next?
Yeah, thanks, Yasmin. Hi, everyone. My name is Brittany. I go by she, her pronouns. I'm currently a master's student studying public health. And in the past, I've graduated from Cal State Fullerton studying health science with the minor in Asian American Studies. And currently, right now, I am living in my hometown, also known as Westminster in California. And I'll pass it over to Cynthia.
Yay! Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia. I am from Lamont, California. I'm also a fourth year graduating senior at SFSU. I'm double majoring in psychology and Spanish. And I mean, we're just here. Noe, do you want to go?
Yo, what's good, everybody? My name is Noe Mora. I am the EOP Summer Bridge and Mentor Program Coordinator, or otherwise known as the person who spams your emails all the time. I actually got my degree in liberal studies. Then I got my master's degree in guidance and counseling, and I'm currently pursuing my doctoral degree in educational leadership at USC.
Yeah. All right, cool. So after a little introduction from us, we really want to get into like why we even wanted to start this podcast, and like why it's really important for us. And I guess like I'll talk a little bit about it, but I just feel like for me at least, like the first year of college is really kind of like you navigating it on your own, and like you can come from a family that everyone's been to college. Um, and you feel like you're ready, but really everyone's experience is different. And you can feel like, I'm ready, I know what I'm getting myself into, but you really don't until you get there, right? Um, and so I really wanted, like our team to kind of come in and, give our own experiences about, what our years of college look like. From bachelor's until really to your PhD, what does that look like? And also, inviting guests on to kind of talk about their experience in higher education, professionally, or their own experience, doing the thing, and also talking about like side projects for students that they can get involved in, or resources and stuff like that. So for me, like I wasn't seeing those things, and I wasn't really seeing anyone talk about higher education, and so for me, it was really important to kind of create a platform where we could, talk about the nitty gritty of all that stuff. So yeah, does anybody else want to kind of share?
Yo, well, for me, this means a lot in terms of like bringing light to the different programs on campus, different staff members. I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to engage the community and showcase programs and services and staff that normally go unseen or seen by very few. So I'm really excited about bringing folks on to do that.
Yeah, in addition to that, I think it's just really important to like really, uplift and empower first gen voices. Cause I know in this space, a lot of us identify as a being the first family to go to college. So I think like being able to have this outlet where you're able to feel connected and feel like a sense of belonging is so important. And I feel like having this podcast is something, a way for us to connect with y'all and to know that you're not alone in this process and journey that you're navigating.
Cynthia.
No, yeah, definitely. And also, like Yasmin mentioned, hearing everybody's stories and like realizing you're not going through it alone. Like other people went through the same process. It might not be exactly the same, but everyone has their experience, and you might be able to relate to someone from here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I just think like encompassing everyone's story is really important, and like just highlighting some of like the big things that kind of happen in our like college experience, higher ed experience, and also like not even just talking about like college, but like how has it affected us like professionally. And, we're all here working as a team, through the mentor program and through EOP. And like kind of what did that look like, and even highlighting some of the jobs that we've done and stuff like that, because we've all kind of worked in different areas. So talking about professionally too, how has college affected us. But yeah, okay, so I guess like kind of moving into the next thing is kind of wanting to introduce EOP and also like the mentor program. Um, and so kind of first talking about what is EOP. And Noe, I don't know if you can give us a little background on that. But go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of history involved with this, right? So really, if you go back, people refer to the 1968 strike as the birth of EOP, because after that, there was a surge in EOP programs that were funded by the state and across the CSUs and the UCs for students to get services specifically to help them stay in school and graduate, right? So the education opportunity program, it's one of those things that people just recognize immediately when they're applying to college, because your college counselor probably told you, yes, apply to EOP, you're gonna get money. But it's much more than that, right? EOP right now at SF State is actually called the Educational Opportunity and Pathway Programs. That's why you might see EOPP in your emails. It's not a mistake. It's actually like part of the acronym now. Anyway, flash forward to me coming on board in 2018, where I met Yasmine. I was charged with restructuring the summer bridge program, right? It went from a residential program to a non-residential program. So my job was like, how can I bring back the residential? But on top of the summer bridge program, how can I incorporate the mentorship program, right? So in this space, who you're seeing today are the staff of summer bridge and the mentor program. And so the sole purpose, there's no other purpose other than helping students feel a sense of belonging here on campus and connecting y'all to the resources that we're constantly looking at, or have experienced ourselves, right? So this brings us to right now in this moment in time that this podcast is just another way of us reaching out to more people, because we're definitely willing to help, and we're definitely willing to open the door for anyone, EOP or not, to get some help and whatever they need in their college experience. And on top of everything else, is my personal passion is to help students have that meaningful college experience from day one all the way through and then beyond into their career. That's a little bit about like how this kind of program came to be.
Right. And like EOP is, I mean, we're always gonna like plug EOP and like the mentor program and stuff like that. But like no, I was saying like this isn't just for EOP students. This is for like, all college students throughout wherever y'all are. It's and whatever stage y'all are at. Because I mean, we're going to be talking about like bachelor's, master's, doctoral, and all, and even professionally. How far we've come. So like this podcast isn't like just strictly for EOP students. It's really, hopefully, we can reach a lot of college students. And yeah, I mean, going back to like what is EOP and stuff like that, I feel like kind of just highlighting some of the things that like EOP does for students. Yeah, I mean, you do get a grant. It's a grant, right, Noe?
Yeah, right now currently the grant is like about $300, and at other schools it's like 1,000. So it just depends on each school.
Right. So you get that grant money, which is kind of cool because that can help pay for your tuition or maybe some of your books or stuff like that. And I know every EOP program is a little bit different, but here at SF State we have that grant, and then we also have advising. So you can meet with an advisor and talk about your classes and stuff like that, or anything else that you need. And also tutoring. So we have a tutoring department here at SF State, and they help you really go through your essays. I know they do resume stuff too. They do science stuff like bio, and they do math too, I believe, right?
Yeah, they do mostly the general ed requirements, but also I think they're doing some upper division courses in business. It just depends. So We're not the only tutoring service, but like I would say that's the first place to start, to see if there's anybody they can pair you with. But then also there's another tutoring service called tutoring assistance, or it's called Task for short. I forgot what it means, but that's the thing, when you're around us, and you share with us an experience that maybe didn't go your way. That's where we come in and we're like, well, have you tried this, or have you looked over here? And that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and then I think like the next part of EOP is like the mentor program, which is what we're all a part of, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. But basically, as a mentor, we're here to provide resources for y'all and also to meet with y'all personally, because sometimes it's a little bit harder to meet with an advisor, and you feel a little bit more comfortable meeting with a student. So we're here for that too. And then like one of the last things I would say is workshops, right? And so we do here at EOP, we do a lot of workshops that really stem around professional development as well as personal development. So like wellness, mental health, and all that kind of good stuff. Um, and so, like I said, every university has their own EOP program, and it may be structured a little bit different. But I really feel like if you can apply for EOP and you can get in, take advantage of it. That's the way that I feel about it. I don't know if anybody else has a little bit of more information on EOP.
Maybe we can share like what brought us to EOP.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what brought us to EOP, and like also how has EOP kind of impacted us. I don't know, maybe Cynthia, do you want to go and talk about that a little bit?
Oh my gosh. I think I've mentioned it to my once that I honestly feel like EOP raised college me. Because I mean, starting off in the university in a whole different city and like not knowing anyone. And then I was part of EOP. I wasn't active at first because I mean, I don't know anyone. So I was like, I'm not gonna, just leave it there. But then I started going to the workshops and everything. So I started noticing they were fun. I started helping Noah out with any like work he needed. We worked with some kids. It was pretty fun. So then I kind of just got attached and just started showing up to everything. And that's how I started meeting people. I remember I met Yasmine, one of the first few workshops. She probably doesn't remember, but I remember. So yeah, that's how I started getting into EOP. And then ever since, I kind of just got stuck.
Yeah, definitely. Britt, do you want to talk about your experience a little bit?
Yeah, so for me, disclaimer, I'm not an EOP student, but I do self-identify as a first gen college student. Just a long story short, I did apply for EOP, but they said that I was too overqualified, even though I self-identify as a first gen college student. So that's what happened, but I was a part of a different first gen college student program known as like Upward Bound. So for all the trio folks there, yes, it's an amazing program. But what really led me for SF State EOP program was really like my connection with Noe. So we did like, this like AmeriCorps Vista program called CSU STEM Vista. And so I was working or volunteering at a site at, Cal Poly Pomona where Noe used to like volunteer there as well. And we just kind of connected, and me doing work in education and working, with like students of color and first gen college students, like that was where I felt like very, high and just like very passionate with the work that I was doing, and keeping in touch with Noe. He was like, hey, like, you got a job, or what are you doing at SF State, and I was just like, I'm just going to school, like figuring things out. And then he was just like, we're like working on this peer mentorship program, and I know you were working like peer mentorship back at Pomona, like, do you want to like join us and like, join the team? And I was like, yeah, I would love to join the team and like continue the work that I was doing. So that's kind of how I got like connected with SF State EOP, and it's just been really great.
Yeah, definitely. I think my story is kind of I was an Avid for 6 years of my life, and a lot of people hate on Avid, but I feel like that's kind of like the EOP, but like in high school in a way. Um, And so yeah, my Avid coordinator in my senior year, shout out to Mr. Sowsley, because he honestly hooked me up, but he really promoted EOP, and was like, why wouldn't you apply to it? So I applied to it and I got in, and when I went to SF State, they were like, yeah, come be a part of our program. um, and so I my first year, kind of like how Cynthia said, like I wasn't like super like into like the workshop and stuff like that, but I met with my advisor, um, and at that time it was Danny, when Danny still worked with us at EOP, and he was an amazing advisor. Literally, my first 2 years were a breeze because of him. He really helped me out with my GE courses and stuff like that. Um, and so yeah, I literally only met with Danny, and he was like my only advisor there. And um, I met with him twice a semester, once in the beginning, once at the end. And I think like I would not have been where I'm at now, graduating on time, without like that help from EOP. And so for me, it was a really good experience to be a part of the program. And now also too, like it landed me a job in the mentor program. I think if I wouldn't have been like applied to EOP and known about EOP and all that stuff, I don't know what I would be doing like now, what my job would be, where I would be at. And so for me, I feel like I always tell students, like, if you can apply for the programs, just do it. The worst thing that they can say is no, but if you don't apply, you're already giving yourself a definite no, right? um, and so that was like kind of my journey, coming out of high school, applying to EOP, um, getting into EOP, meeting with my advisor, and getting that help that I needed. But yeah, it was a great experience, and I highly recommend, if you're an EOP student, take part in those workshops and resources and stuff like that. Noah, do you want to kind of talk about how you got to EOP?
Yes. Just like y'all, I showed up. That's literally the only requirement sometimes. Like, just show up. Showing up one day can land you a job. Showing up one day can get you connected with somebody. For me, my story starts in Cal Poly Pomona, my previous employer, where I worked with a program called MEP, which is essentially the EOP version of engineering, right? And so what I would do there is the tutoring, and we also had a peer mentorship program. And so I was like, after that experience, like I knew I wanted to be in higher ed, but the school at the time, it just wasn't doing it for me. So actually, I ended up rejoining the CSU STEM Vista program that Brittany mentioned earlier, which is essentially trying to help students in STEM graduate, period, because STEM has, particularly for Latino and Black students, a very low graduation rate, particularly in engineering, and that's where my interest was. And so I started applying to jobs, different jobs around the CSU, and I really liked the fact that this program offered a summer bridge and mentor program coordinator, the kind of two things that I was in charge of at Cal Poly Pomona. And I'm like, I'm gonna start fresh there. I'm gonna bring my energy and my content and a vision, right? And so I applied. I had an interview, and in the interview, I'll never forget that, like, part of the interview was to give a 10-minute speech to potential summer bridge students of why it's important to graduate from college. And we were sitting in a circle, and when I had practiced my speech standing up, so I'm like, do y'all mind if I stand up? And everyone just started laughing. And that was I thought that moment was my ticket in, where if it paid off to be a little goofy, a little bit, and I told my story. I was nervous as heck, but it just felt right. Everything felt right. And when I got the call, I didn't hesitate to accept it. And that's when I decided to move from LA to San Francisco. And that process was also really very hard, because weather alone, I had no layers. I had like a thermo, maybe some shorts. Like I had to I had to like readjust. I had been in LA for a while, and the heat was just overwhelming. Literally, the day that I moved from LA to San Francisco, the difference was like 40 degrees. It was wild. But anywho, so I've been in SF State since 2018, and we were able to actually establish the first residential program in almost a decade, I think, or more. But we added another component, which was a transfer bridge, right? Like inviting transfer students to enjoy the benefits of having a summer residential program. And so that was right before the pandemic, essentially, like the year before. And so we didn't continue it, but with this team here, we were able to convert some of the programming into the virtual world. And even though it's not the same, we were always there for y'all. We were going through the struggle. So we've learned and adapted along the way. And that's what I like about working here, is that we determine what we want to do. We determine what's best for students based on either observation, personal experiences, or past experiences. And that's what I really love about my job, is that I can critically analyze something and make a suggestion about how we can fix it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's what higher ed is also all about: experimentation and documenting successes or failures and learning from them. And it's just a great honor to be here. And also, like, the number one thing that I always think about is like how I didn't take advantage of the things that I now promote. And that always drives me, that there's people out there that have all the skills and have everything they need, minus the sense of belonging and minus, that sense of community. And that's what we're here to provide.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I agree with all that. And I think, no, we're going to be highlighting you later. Like, your experience, no, seriously, like your experience is so like, it's like motivational in a way. So we'll definitely be touching more on Noah's like stories and stuff like that, because I think like we really need more people like you, Noah, and like your passion for higher ed and stuff like that. I mean, and that's what we're trying to create here and like promote here, is like passion for higher education, but also mainly for students, right? Advocating for students, and really saying like we see you and we understand you, and we stand with you, right? Yeah, definitely. But yeah, okay, getting into the next thing, talking about like the mentor program, right? So kind of self plug here, but talking about what is the mentor program, what do we do, and I'm not sure, and Noah, you may be able to kind of touch on this, but I'm not sure if other EOP at CSUs and UCs and stuff like that, I'm not sure if they have other mentor programs. Do you know that if they do?
Yeah, they have various different programs that are similar. Like sometimes it's like a smaller program, sometimes it's a bigger program, but essentially they all have some component of it, or they'll blend it with like the tutoring program, right? Like all EOPs have budgets for like student assistance, and they determine how to use it. But typically it's through tutoring, and then if they have funds, they'll do mentor programs. It just depends on the school.
Right. Yeah, so kind of highlighting like the things that we do here at the mentor program, really being one, just meeting with students, and that's the basis of it, right? Having that one-on-one connection with students, because it's typically easier to meet with somebody who's going through the college process currently. We love our advisors, and we really respect them, but sometimes it's a little bit different because they haven't done the college experience in the current, right? They've done it a few years ago, or maybe even longer, and so sometimes the system changes a bit, and so needing to get that one-on-one student connection, and that's kind of like what we focus on here, and even outside of like the college stuff, really getting to know how you're doing, like how's work, how's your family, is there anything that I know that I can help y'all with, and kind of talking about that component, and then also like professional development. So we host our own workshops, and so through that we do professional development, but we also do personal development again, so like that wellness, and then do resumes. We go over resume stuff. What else do we do, y'all? Does anybody else have more plugs that we do?
I guess another thing that, in addition to what Yasmine shared, is we also do a lot of community building type of activities, because we know that, especially with online learning, it's very hard to like connect with folks, right, in a virtual modality. So what we're trying to do, especially for this semester as well, is really provide space for y'all to come together, connect, build friendships, because this is like your second family, and we're hoping to get that experience and culture for you. So we just hope that this space is something, familiar, comfortable for you, because we do want to bring this community niche together.
Noe likes to host his SF trivia nights, and then us three, Brittany and Cynthia, we like to do game nights. So we host those once in a while. Brittany does some wellness stuff. Cynthia has her cheese man night. Hopefully, something is going to be brought back like that. But it's just a little space to talk about the cheese man of the week. But yeah, we really host those like personal things. Cynthia, I don't know if you have anything else that you kind of experienced of what we do at the mentor program.
I mean, you guys kind of just said it all. But the cheese mint is coming real soon. I'm hoping that it starts next week, maybe later this week, but it's real soon, real soon.
Yeah, so we do small stuff like that, because our big thing is like we really want to connect students to each other, and we really want to have that good experience here at EOP. You may not be coming to see your advisor, you may not be going to workshops, but you may be meeting with the mentor, and that may be the thing that's impacting you the most. And so yeah, that's kind of the intro to the mentor program. No, I don't know if you have anything else that we missed.
No, yeah, that's I think what differentiates this program from other programs that I've seen is like our ability to adapt and create new things, right? I wanted to initially the program was supposed to be kind of like only the one-on-one meetings, or right, with the students, and we used to come to the office to do it, but along the way you don't need to meet so often sometimes, right? Or you might not have anything to talk about, but you know that it's there. So what we've done is create those spaces that maybe instead of a regular one-on-one meeting, you just come and hang out, right? And so that's been working for us, right? And we don't care about 100 people coming to an event. We care about the one person who showed up, and that's really our philosophy, is that as long as one student shows up, we're there too, and we're gonna give it 100, yo.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like kind of the next thing I kind of want us to talk about is again how we talked about with EOP, but how did we become a mentor, and also what has being a mentor taught us. And so I don't know if anybody wants to go first about their experience. Cynthia, yours is kind of unique. I feel like Cynthia, you got to go first.
Oh my gosh. Well, where do I start? Like I said, my first year, I was not participating in anything. I was working in the school cafeteria, the school dining center, which is a completely different job from this. Um, but there was one day where I was like, I'm too lonely. I need to go out. I need to find my own area, know people that, someone I could relate to, because it was really, really hard. So then I started showing up to EOP. I don't remember what event it was. I think it was was it a resume, Noah?
It was like a LinkedIn or social media presence one.
Yeah, and I was the first one there, and I was just like, And then there was like two other people, and then Noe showed up. I kind of just sat there, and then I started talking to Noe, and then I was like, "Hey, Noe, are you hiring?" And he was just kind of like, not right now, but we'll see. So then I kind of just started showing up to everything. I asked him if he needed help with anything. I helped him with anything I could, and then it's literally just showing up. And the reason I did that was because when growing up, my mom would always tell me, just go, just show up, just show up, just show up. No matter what, just keep going. Because if you keep showing up, something's going to come out of it. So then that's why I kept showing up. I kept bugging him and I kept bugging him. And then he was like, "Hey, I'm hiring for summer bridge." And I was like, "I'm down. Don't tell me anything more. Like, I'm down." And we did it, and I'm still here. It's been like 2 years now. Yeah, pretty fun.
In a way, it was a test, Cynthia. I was like, let's see if she's really about it then. And when you started showing up to stuff, I was like, okay, all right. And that just goes to show, folks, like, sometimes we're scared of going to professor office hours.
Mhm.
Literally showing up, something could happen. And I think that's a perfect example with me and Cynthia. Like I really wasn't hiring. But I knew in the back of my mind, like at some point I will. And so when that opportunity came by, and it was kind of a wild idea to work for like 6 weeks straight, um, living on campus for part of it. And so I'm glad that she accepted, but the opportunity was there. She took it.
Yeah, and it was a great opportunity. I mean, those 6 weeks were very tiring, but we lived through it and it was fun. And I mean, what I got from everything was literally, like Noah said, just how it's intimidating talking to professors. I feel like working in an environment with professionals just kind of gets you to realize like they're people, like like it's not as bad as you really think it is. But yeah.
I always say, like, I don't know how y'all hired me. So like, since they gave me a chance, I'm trying to give everybody a chance that I can too.
Britt, do you want to share your story a little bit?
Yeah. So how I got to be part of the mentor program, well, just to kind of piggyback how my connection with like Noe, like previously, like serving in a AmeriCorps Vista. So when I got to campus and like Noe was just talking about like the peer mentor program with EOP, and he was basically trying to sell it to me, and I was like, this sounds pretty cool. Like I think I would want to do this. So then like he was like helping me, get like hired, all the paperwork. And then once I got like all the paperwork ready to go, I was like, all right, like I'll see you on Monday. And he's like, just kidding, I won't be there. I'm actually leaving for an intern position. And I was like, oh, so who am I supposed to like go like check in with? And he was just like, oh, like I'll be back, maybe like after a few months or so, but you're gonna do this on your own with the other peer mentors. Like, you got this, you've done this before. And I was just like, oh, okay. Well, like, I hope like the peer mentors I'm gonna work with, like they like me. Like that was like one of my fears. I was like, if Noe's not there, who's gonna be the middle person, Because I'm just like hopping in there and they're like, who is this girl? So that was kind of like how I got into it. But I mean, the peer mentors that I worked with, like they're all amazing. I love them. Like we be such like a huge family, and I just love like the time that we spend together. So yeah, that's kind of like my story.
Brittany, could I mention how we were waiting for you? Like we knew you were gonna get there. It was like a week that we were like, when is she here? When is she gonna get here? When is she gonna here? And also, Noah had told us that you were from a completely different place, so we didn't know what to expect. But we were waiting for you. We were like, we're waiting for her, and we would always check the little cubicle. We're just like, oh, is she here? Oh, is she here? And then we're to each other because we didn't know when you were gonna get here. We're like, when is she gonna get here?
Yeah, definitely. I remember that, and like I guess like for me, like the experience was so different, and so when Britt came in, I was nervous because I felt like, oh no, like someone's gonna come in and like they're gonna act like they know everything. But like with Britt, like Britt was like, we are a team. Like I don't see you all as any different than myself, which what I really appreciated. Like you never came in and was like, this is what we're gonna do. Like I'm in this position. Like no, you just came in and you kind of were just like, whatever we want to do together is whatever we want to do together. And like I feel like Britt was really the one that was kind of like, I'll take on what I need to, but I'll let y'all still be in charge and do your own thing. So yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yo, sorry about that, Brittany. But I think it was a higher calling, really. Blame destiny. I couldn't have. To me, it was like something that fell into my lap. Like, ooh, she's perfect for this. So to me, it was like a no-brainer. To like, my only fear was that you wouldn't accept it just because of the spontaneity of it, and like it was almost like perfect timing. I was like, don't let this be too good to be true. And I already knew that you had a good head on your shoulders, and like I was kind of in a predicament in terms of like experimental situation in terms of like how I was staffed at SFSU, which was another experience that I'll talk about another day. But I just knew that like I didn't have to worry as long as Britt was there, and the how I sold it to the mentors was like, this person comes from the program that I used to work for, and I've spoken to her, and I know parts about her. I know she can do it. And so I wasn't exactly sure how y'all felt about it, to be honest. But I was like, this is how it's gonna play out. So I'm glad it worked out. It really has, and it's been a great journey with y'all.
Yeah, and I think like my situation. So I've been the longest one here. This is now my third year going on. I started with Noe. I remember um, I was kind of looking for another job. I was working in residential life as an admin for towers, um, and I loved the job. But I really was missing that student interaction. And so my sophomore year, I was kind of just like, okay, well, I hate kind of like the admin position was really just like me sitting there and like doing admin work. So I was doing paperwork. I mean, I would greet students when they would come in, but I just was lacking that student interaction, that one-on-one connection. And so I got an email from Noe, and it was like, come be a mentor. And I was like, this kind of seems a little interesting. And so I applied for it, and I got an interview with Noe, and the interview was amazing. I mean, like our energy, like we just work together. Like it's good, and I felt like I was like, okay, I'm confident. I really hope I get this job. I was still nervous because I was only a sophomore, um, and typically at like the university, like it's hard to kind of get a job when you're only a freshman or sophomore. I had been working at another position in residential life my freshman year, and so I really didn't have like that experience to kind of come be a mentor. So I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get this position. But then eventually I got confirmed for it. And we started as a team of 10. No, was it 10? Yeah, 10. There was 10 of us. Um, and our schedules were so spread out that like we never really saw each other that much. And, when we came for team meetings, I felt like it was always kind of like us checking in briefly, but we kind of didn't have um we weren't able to like really like connect as a team because our schedules were just so varying. And some of us were I was the youngest, I think, on the team. I was a sophomore, but we had like juniors and seniors on the team. And so it was it was interesting. I think like we learned, me and Noah learned a lot from that first year. And then the second year we cut down to 6, I believe. Um, and again, it was a larger team, so it was easier to connect with each other. But again, our schedules were so hot and cold that we didn't really share a space all together. And then when we did share a space all together, it felt like super crammed. Um, and so it's either like one person was working or we're all working together in one small space. Um, and then I moved to this year, and it's just being all three of us. And I feel like at least for right now, like 3 mentors is the magic number. But I don't know, because like we all work so well together that I couldn't imagine working with anybody else. Um, but yeah, it literally was just saw an email in my inbox. I applied. I met with Noe, and I've been here for the last 3 years. And our program has changed so drastically from the beginning until now. Like I wish Cynthia and Britt, like you could have been there and you would have experienced like our first year. Um, but I think it was good to go to that first year because it really laid the foundation. And going into that, I guess Noé, do you want to kind of give your experience of like how you got to the mentor program and kind of what that first year and on was like for you?
Yeah. So this is a perfect avenue to talk about growth, right? So when I came on, I had already been hired to other institutions, and I had done the recruitment process for tutors and for mentors. Um, but when I got to SF State, I'm like, I'm gonna just start from scratch. I'm looking for the best students I could find, right? And I think that was the first kind of like, who do I want to hire and why, right? And I hired 10 individuals that were outstanding. But the one key element, and Yasmine was the one to make me realize this, was like, we're all great individually, but there's something missing in terms of cohesiveness, or like how can we improve that? And so each semester is a chance to start anew. So I don't know how annoyed I could be about, I mean, annoying I could be about, okay, this is a new start, but each semester always feels like a new start because we're still adopting, we're still changing, we're still figuring out what's working best. And one semester, for example, the pandemic, when it's hit, like we got to kind of switch gears. Uh, so now when I get the feedback from the student employees or mentors, it makes me think, okay, how can this be different? And maybe my problem right now is that I can't manage 10 people, right? Like, so how can we, you know, even though it means like slightly less jobs, but I'd rather give 3 people a meaningful experience than 10 people feeling like, I don't know what we do here and I don't really know, I don't really care, right? So I think the future of the mentor program will be to hire maybe another 2, like to have a team of 5. But I think it's quality over quantity in terms of like a staff members. And so potentially down the road, we might do more of a like volunteer mentor program, so we can include more people that want to participate and give back. But again, it's just professional growth and reflection of like what worked, what didn't, what might work, what can I try this year that's different. And I've never left that spirit, right? I've always had that like let's start from scratch. I don't personally mind, but I know working with me that could be an issue, right? Like, well, we already established something, like I know, but let's just rethink it again. And so that's my style, and people have to adapt to that too. But I think at the end, when you have a boss that, or like supervisor that's kind of like out there crazy, the next one seems a lot easier. Or like you're like, oh, the pace is much easier here. And that's what I strive to do, is to give you the experiences that are kind of hard now, so that later when they come down the road, you're like, oh yeah, we used to do that, or we've done that before. And I think that's what you get out of being a mentor, is like experiences, being able to adapt, being able to help others. It's like a so many different elements. Hosting your own workshops, creating your own Zoom links, right? uh, that's kind of like where the mentor program is basically whatever the person running it wants it to be. So for anyone out there that wants to be like in higher education, which I'm sure we'll host a session specifically about that, but think about how the things you haven't taken advantage of, and how and why, and then that's what you turn into a program, right? Like, I didn't take advantage of EOP because I didn't know what it was. I didn't go to tutoring because I didn't even know we had tutoring, right? And so taking those experiences and flipping them into like, how can we get this information into the hands of the students?
Hey, Noah, I never received an email about you looking for mentors.
Oops.
The one Yasmine got.
That was before your time.
It was probably, yeah, you probably got it.
You better go check your emails. People always, I didn't get, I didn't get your email, or I get too many of your emails. Like, it's never in the middle.
Yeah, I feel like you should have gotten it. I got it. I feel like every EOP student that I know, like at that time, was like, I got it, but I don't want to apply. And I was like, I'm applying.
I think Noah from that time was like, let me just not include something.
Yeah, I think I went in there and I unchecked your name.
It was probably because you were already working at Sodexo.
Oh.
Well, there is a filter that I use. Like, we have the ability to filter, and the filter was like a certain number of units. So you probably hadn't reached that threshold yet. Maybe, because I think the unit count was like, what is it, like 30, because that's a sophomore, and then, but you should have had 30 by then.
Yeah, I don't know.
You probably just missed
go back
it.
in your inbox. You gonna find it.
It's fine.
But you were getting the emails later because you started showing up to stuff.
But that's another thing that like is a good thing to highlight, is like check your emails. Like even if you like as a student, like you're busy, check your emails, because like so many opportunities are going through your emails. And like, I mean, literally it started as an email for me, like, come be part of the mentor program. And I literally was just like, this is a great opportunity, I'm gonna apply. And then there you go. So check your emails, y'all.
Yep. Emails. Well, I mean, I'll speak on emails a little bit. it's the official communication of the university is email, right? So the only problem is that right now there's a lot of scam emails. A lot of so students are probably like more hesitant to click on links because it sounds too good to be true. And even I myself give that advice, like don't click on anything that seems too good to be true. So really in higher education now you're learning how to try to avoid scams in the search of a good opportunity. So that's really hard to do, but that's also part of the process, right? Like one day we're all bound to fall for a scam, and that's unfortunate, but it's how you bounce back and learn from it, right? So just right now, pretend our email is kind of like a very something you actually have to kind of read through before you start clicking on anything. I've noticed that students kind of like they'll open the email and they'll just go directly to the link before even reading what it says, right? Because you kind of want to get to the information that this email is saying to do, which is like apply or send us your information. So I just challenge y'all to make sure that before you click any links on anything, even my emails, that you read what it says, yo. That's nothing. It's that simple.
No, yeah, for sure. I think like I don't know if it's because like we're in a pandemic right now and people are vulnerable and like there's some literal some evil people out there, but yeah, I mean check your emails and apply for positions and stuff like that, but really like make sure that you know what this job is about. Do some research. Even like here we've had students come in and ask us like, hey, can I forward you this email and can you look it over for us? So again, use your resources. Don't just think that you got this all on your own and you're good to go, because that's how people get scammed. Like they're like, well, I'm gonna do it, and then they get scammed because they didn't ask anybody, they didn't use your resources.
Yeah.
So yeah, check your email, but also check for those scams.
I do have a quick horror story with the whole scam stuff. And so a student emailed me and they got scammed, and it was for a job. And the job was like, oh, just send me your direct deposit info, send me your bank account, send me your social security number, send me a picture of your ID. And it was just after they had deposited financial aid, and they got jacked basically, and there's no recovery from that. So imagine having a deposit of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, whatever you get, and in one snap, because you thought you were getting a job, it's all gone, and there's no recovering that money, and the school can't do anything about it. So that's literally what could happen if you kind of are careless. And again, it's based on our vulnerability right now, that you see a job offer that's, oh, it's easy, you get paid $300, and all I have to do is send my they didn't even ask for a resume. They were just like, send us your bank account info ASAP. And they fell for it, and so many students fall for it. But again, like, there's ways to report it, but at the end of the day, the only thing you could do is really just read it, and your gut will tell you this is kind of fishy, and maybe I should contact Noe or EOP about it.
Yeah, also, and how you were saying like reporting them, I feel like that's such a big part of it too. Like if y'all see scams in your email, report them, because guess what, these people, like, they're not being reported and they're just going on to do like more bad things to other students. So like, report your emails to phishing, and have your school look at those things, because if we're not reporting them, we're really not only hurting ourselves but other students. And we're a community, and we got to be looking out for each other. So make sure you report those scams. But yeah.
Oh, one last story that I'm going to story tell you. So another student was getting texts alleging that EOP was texting them, right? And all they did was they screenshot like our webpage, and they just modified something and made it seem like a legit communication, but we never text. So that student emailed us and, hey, I keep getting these texts from a number, and it turned out being a scam. And we don't know, the student wasn't even EOP, but see, this is how vicious people are. Like, they're just anyone's number that they get. They're gonna try to use something from the school because it's safe. uh, you know and in the emails, you're actually getting, most of the spam emails come from student email accounts because they're getting hacked, and the hackers are using their emails to reach out to other students. And it's so easy to be like, oh, it's from a mail.sfsu, it has to be legit. But if you don't know that student and they're just offering you something, and why would they have your email? Just be careful.
For sure. I think kind of like one of the last things I kind of want to get into is what is really like the mentor program taught us. And I think like one thing that I know it's really taught me is like how important personal connection is. Um, I really love students coming in and sharing their story with me. I think again, like all of our stories are so different, and um, we may not know what people are going through. And so just getting to know a student or just getting to know staff is really so important. And I think that the mentor program has really opened up my eyes to that. Um, and also too, like networking, how like, you know, personal connection leads to networking and being able to have more resources, right? Um, and so like I feel like for me the mentor program has really taught me the importance of personal connection, um, and staying on top of, you know, those experiences and stuff like that. Does anybody else want to share like what the mentor program has kind of taught them?
Okay, I wasn't sure if Cynthia was gonna go. But for me, I feel like the mentor program has really taught me, like, kind of similar what Yasmin shared, is like relationship building. I feel like it's really helped me like improve on my interpersonal skills, and also like I feel like it's really challenged me in ways like when I have a student and they have a question and they're like, hey, like I need help, like I don't know what to do with XYZ. And then for me, like, because there's expectations that peer mentors like need to know everything, but I'll be real, like I don't know everything. Like I'm still new to the campus, I'm learning too. So when like challenges like that arise, I'm like, all right, I don't know the answer right now to tell you, but I'm going to find that answer for you. And it's taught me a lot, like, outreaching to like different campus departments, colleges, and just talking to like, higher ed professionals, like, hey, like I have a student, and even myself too, like, I have this question too, like, what do I do when this happens? So I feel like the mentor program has really taught me to be like open to challenges and like navigating like how to be like a problem solver, and be very open-minded about like trying out new things and being out of my comfort zone for that.
No, yeah, definitely. And also, off of what you just said, it's also not being afraid of asking for help. Because even though sometimes we don't have the answer, you're kind of sometimes scared to be like, oh, I kind of don't know. But that's what I kind of learned from it. It's like, it's okay not to know, like that's why we're all in the learning process. It's fine. No one's perfect. Like, just ask someone and someone will help you. And then now, it's that simple, but at the same time, it's hard to admit that you need help. But yeah.
Noah, do you want to talk about what the mentor program has taught you?
Yeah. Uh, it has taught me that students are just as capable as staff to do the work that needs to be done. I've seen so many students come through the mentor program in terms of like as mentors and mentees, um, and they're highly skilled and highly knowledgeable, and the only thing missing is an experience that really cements, their ability to work in a professional setting. Like if you can bring all the skills you need, but if no one gives you the opportunity to put those skills to work, it delays that development. So what I've also learned about myself is that this is definitely the work that I want to do moving forward, and whether it's in high schools or college, but always in the spirit of preparing folks for the next stage of their life. And so for us as a mentor program right now, it's kind of like the goal is simple: is to provide a space for students to feel welcomed. But long term, what it really does is adds to that meaningful experience in college, where like that feeling of not being alone and having a group of people that are in it with you. So it's really just taught me the importance of that one-to-one and that community connection.
Yeah, and I think like my last kind of thought on that is also like the mentor program has really like made me kind of fall in love with higher education. Um, I am currently in a design um, bachelor's program, and I like it, but I don't love it as much as I do working in higher ed. And so like even getting this experience to work in the mentor program, it's really allowed me to kind of find another level of myself. And I think that's so important to apply to jobs or to join orgs or to volunteer, because I think those experiences are really going to allow you to find what you actually want to do. And I mean, we'll talk about like changing majors and like career paths and all that stuff in another episode. But just briefly, like for me, I think like the mentor program has definitely allowed me to open my eyes to what is higher education, what are the different levels of working as a professional in higher education, and also the importance of being a professional in higher ed. It's not just about coming to make money, it's really about changing student lives and impacting people in the prime time of their life. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like another thing that I've learned. But does anybody else have like any last thoughts on that? Cool. Looks like we're good to go. All right. So yeah, I guess like this is kind of the time now where we kind of like get into closing. Um, Typically like I want y'all to kind of, if y'all have any kind of last thoughts on anything, or kind of something that like brightened your eyes during this podcast, this is the kind of the time to do that. It's just a period of us to reflect on kind of like what we're talking about, and also kind of just to wrap it up. But I don't know if anybody has any kind of like last thoughts or anything. No, I know you always do.
Well,
um,
Brittany is always good at that too. But y'all, for me, it's very simple. That being in a space to be able to talk makes you feel good. Like me talking, whether it made sense or not, it feels good to speak out loud to people. And I think a lot of you have experienced this before, where when you talk to a friend or a relative, and it doesn't have to be about your problems, but just the fact that you talk to them. I know it happened to me when I would like randomly call people during like the early stages of the pandemic. That I would call and feel really good about a 15-minute conversation with someone I didn't have before. And so that's the spirit that we take into everything. And that's why it's important to, today it's a podcast with us four, but we host things for y'all to come and talk to us all the time. So I hope that that you realize that the power of connection through you yourself participating in these talks and sharing your opinion. Um, and that's really like the goal of education, is to create this network of people that share and express their ideas that are similar or different than yours, but that space is created, and it's a beautiful thing when you see people not arguing but having disagreements and being able to meet in the middle. um, yeah.
Britt, do you have any last minute, last kind of thoughts or anything? Cynthia, you too.
Okay, I'll go. I mean, overall, I'm just excited to have these conversations. I look forward to like having more like these like, kind of like unfiltered conversations and just like sharing the space with y'all. So, just looking forward to that.
Yeah, and it's always nice hearing everyone's story again, like, I don't know, it just feels good to hear it again. No matter how many times, it just feels good.
Yeah, and I think so what we kind of expect out of this podcast for like the next kind of topics that we want to kind of discuss is things that relate to like housing, coming into housing, what's that experience. Our experience is a little bit different because we came from the Bay Area, but um, just getting to talk about that, financial aid, um, what has it been like during the pandemic to work remotely and also go to school remotely, budgeting, master's programs, time management, roommates. So we're going to be talking about these topics throughout the semester. And also, our plan is every other week to bring in a guest and have them not only share their stories, but kind of what projects are they working on. And that kind of brings us into next week. We're actually going to have one of our EOP advisors, Julia, come in and share her story, but also talk about her project Yellow Dress. And she'll get into the details of that, but we really want to highlight her because we think that she's a really great resource, and she's an amazing advisor. So we'll have her come in next week and give us the breakdown of her story and her project. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, this is a good place to kind of wrap up. I'm really excited for what's going to happen in the next coming weeks, and kind of see like this transition. I feel like this first podcast might be a little goofy because we're kind of getting used to being recorded and stuff like that. But I have good feelings about this, and I'm really proud of my team for uh, letting me kind of start this and forcing y'all to come on and have your faces on camera and share your stories and all that stuff, because it's really hard to do that. But yeah, thank y'all for coming and watching us, and also thank y'all for being here and sharing your experiences. Um, yeah, so it's the higher ed hot seat team out here, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.